Good evening, Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. Together with the Presidential Communications Office,
we bring you the latest, widest, and most comprehensive news coverage from the People's Television, IBC, Philippine News Agency, Philippine Information Agency, and Presidential Broadcast Service. I'm Princess Abiba Saripaudak.
And I'm Joe Fernandez from Radyo Pilipinas. Welcome to Balitang Pambansa. Tonight's headlines. President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. directs government agencies to provide immediate assistance and begin rescue and relief operations to areas affected by Tropical Storm Christine. The Office of Civil Defense ramps up its calamity response and gears up for the restoration of essential services in storm-hit regions. Ilocos region implements preemptive evacuation in flood and landslide-prone areas. The Department of Trade and Industry, or DTI, imposes a price freeze on basic commodities in Albay and Magpet in Cotabato after a state of calamity declaration. Alleged victims of Kingdom of Jesus Christ leader Apollo Kibuloy narrate their ordeal during today's Senate hearing. In his disaster risk reduction and situational huddle with his team of responders, the president sought the status of calamity damage throughout the affected regions and ordered his response teams to gin up relief efforts in the hard-hit areas and logistical support in the north where Christine is expected to hit and crosses over. PTV's Kenneth Paciente reports.
In the face of flooding due to rain from Typhoon Christine, President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. wants the condition of dams in the country to be closely monitored. His directive is to gradually release water from the dams in the Luzon area and do this while the dam levels are not yet at high. According to the president, torrential rains are expected as the typhoon makes landfall, which is expected tonight or tomorrow morning. But he says this should be carefully planned to ensure that no communities will be harmed by the measure.
What can the downstream communities tolerate in terms of additional water? And do that. And try to release that amount, just that amount. Na hindi magkaka-damage, hindi magkakapinsala, hindi mababaha, hindi yung kaya nung actual na outflow na hindi na abala yung mga downstream communities.
The president also gave orders for the immediate distribution of aid to affected families and individuals. Although it is currently difficult to reach some areas due to flooding, he assured that help will reach those in need.
Pag lumalayo na sa Bicol, sa Region 5, pwede na natin gawin lahat ng pwede natin gawin. Pero huwag na natin pasukin muna ang Region 1, Region 2 dahil parating pa lang. So pabayaan mo na there's nothing we can do except wait for it to pass. Give all the warnings that we can give. Evacuate as many people as we can. But we really have to just batten down the hatches for a day. And make sure that everybody has what they need. Everybody has the emergency supplies. Meron silang ilaw, meron silang tubig. But maybe we'll have to shut that down. Pero wag na sana tumagal masyado. But in the meantime, mag-isip na tayo how when we can go in with our equipment for the public works.
At present, the DSWD reported that around 2 million family food packs have been prepositioned in affected areas, with distribution kicking off yesterday. In addition to providing aid, the president is also ensuring that rescue operations are carried out swiftly when needed. In fact, the Department of National Defense said EDCA sites are ready to be activated should international relief be required. The country's assets are also ready for potential rescue operations.
The AFP is also continuing to monitor the situation so that we will be able to activate the EDCA sites which were put there specifically for this purpose.
We have the available assets to answer for lift capabilities as of this time. However, in the exercise of caution, we are planning two things to foresee the effects in the coming days. In the aftermath of the disaster risk convention, we are coordinating now with our ASEAN neighbors. I have already talked to our Singaporean ambassador to marshal their capabilities for airlift and other manpower assistance.
The government is also making arrangements to send rubber boats to the Bicol region, which is experiencing severe flooding.
As soon as makapasok kami, we will be doing that, and we are now beginning to marshal our assets, like for example rubber boats. Hanggang Mindanao kukunin na muna namin at dadali namin dito sa area na pangangailangan.
On the other hand, the chief executive expressed delight over the help extended by the international community on the onslaught of the typhoon. This after the DOH reported to the president that the country has been verified to receive 3 international medical teams for planned deployment. Health Secretary Ted Herbosa stated that he intends to deploy a 30-man international medical team equipped with water, sanitation, and hygiene or wash facilities for outpatient care to Bicol, Northern and Central Luzon. From PTV, Kenneth Pasyente, Balitang Pambansa.
Meanwhile, aside from providing security and ensuring peace and order, the Philippine National Police, or PNP, is also often at the forefront of ensuring public safety during times of disaster. Thus, the National Police has deployed many of their personnel in Christine-affected areas to assist or even lead search and rescue operations. FPTV's Ryan Lesigues has the full details.
This woman could only scream as she watched how the driver of this jeep was overwhelmed by the electric current in front of a hospital in Legazpi, Albay. According to witnesses, the jeep got caught in a power line, causing the driver to be electrocuted. Residents in the area tried hard to save the driver's life to no avail.
Uy, kuyo, dun yun na! Jesus! Siguro na kuryente siya tapos naglukso siya. Kinadain na kinaya. Oh my God! Diyos ko, mahirap na! Diyos ko! Ay!
4 people have been reported dead by the Philippine National Police as Typhoon Christine struck. 3 of the fatalities are from the Bicol region, based on a situational report sent by PRO5. 6 have been injured, while 1 is missing. Over 300 barangays experienced flooding, while 20 landslides were reported, 10 or half of them in Albay. More than 20,000 families have been evacuated, or more than 67,000 individuals.
As we speak po ay ang mga PNP personnel po natin, particularly dyan po sa Region 5, ay kasalukuyan pong tumutulong sa gobyerno para po ilikas yung mga kababayan po nating naapektuhan ng bagyo, particularly yung mga binaha po. So nagkaroon po ng mga forced evacuations, and of course ongoing po yung distribution po ng relief goods.
1 death has also been reported by PRO9. Meanwhile, there are still missing persons from Region 8. The Philippine National Police assures their readiness to respond to the onslaught of Typhoon Christine. Despite the heavy rain and raging floodwaters, rescue operations by PRO5 personnel continue. In this video, it is clear how strong the flow of the floodwater is.
Sa ngayon po ma'am ay mahigit 2,000 na po yung nakadeploy po natin ng mga PNP personnel, at meron po tayong reserve standby forces na around 10,000 po, at readily available po ito in case kakailanganin po nating magdagdag ng PNP personnel po natin, particularly doon po sa mga affected areas.
In a message, PNP Chief Police General Romel Marbil said they have already deployed mobility assets to various locations across the country. Their personnel are also stationed in affected areas to assist in disaster response and provide humanitarian assistance. The PNP Chief emphasized the PNP's priority is public safety and helping those affected by the typhoon. This despite the fact that some police officers have also been affected by the typhoon. From PTV, Ryan Lesigues, Balitang Pambansa.
The Office of Civil Defense, or OCD, reported over 47,000 individuals are affected by severe tropical storm Christine in the eastern Visayas. According to Philippine News Agency's report, the affected population include more than 20,000 individuals from northern Samar, over 24,000 from eastern Samar, and 770 from Samar. 3 people have been reported missing or injured, and 638 individuals have been evacuated. The OCD said augmentation support is on the way from both national and regional governments. Meanwhile, regional government entities are fully prepared to respond to the impact of the weather disturbance and to assist storm-hit areas. The OCD assured readiness to restore vital services and provide assistance in the Bicol region as soon as possible.
The government assured disaster response options are in place and ready for affected Filipinos in the Ilocos region, including preemptive evacuation if the need arises. Local authorities are also constantly assessing the situation in their respective areas to be able to act promptly to address the needs of residents. PTV Patrick De Jesus has more.
Ilocos Norte, including here in Lawag City, is now experiencing rainfall. According to the LGU, Lawag becomes a catch basin for neighboring areas during heavy rains, leading to flooding.
Lahat ng mga tubig na pumupunta ay yung lumalabas sa mga adjacent municipality namin dito dito lumalabas lahat. Kaya catch basin ho ang Lawag City. So ang namin number 1 na hazard namin is flooding.
As a result, the province remains alert, having recently been hit by Super Typhoon Julian. Evacuation centers are ready for residents needing refuge. Each family has its own room with proper beds. There's even a couple's room for partners who want some private time. Various relief packs containing food and rice are pre-positioned at evacuation centers in Lawag. Family kits, hygiene kits, and sleeping kits will also be distributed immediately.
Lawag City is very far from the regional office, although they have warehouse here. We are 23 LGUs here in Ilocos Norte, and with this, having the kits here right at the evacuation center, they can be immediately attended to.
Rescue equipment are ready for deployment if needed for evacuation, such as rescue boats of the Ilocos Norte provincial government to be used in responding to flood-prone areas in the province. The Office of Civil Defense Ilocos Region has ordered all LGUs to enforce preemptive evacuation in flood-prone and landslide-prone areas.
Nakita naman po natin siguro yung nangyayari sa Bicol sa ngayon na ang bilis po ng tubig. Lalong-lalo na po kung ang ulan po na pupunta sa atin ay manggaling ng kabundukan. Mas madali pong magbigay ng ayuda kaysa yung mag-retrieve po ng mga bangkay. So, as much as possible, we do not want to have any casualties or injuries. At alalahanin po natin na itong bagyong ito, almost nationwide, wala po tayong mahihingian ng tulong sa ngayon. So we have to be by ourselves ngayon dito sa Region 1 because of what is happening in Bicol and other areas.
From the People's Television Network, Patrick De Jesus, Balitang Pambansa.
This just in, Malacanang suspended government work and classes at all levels in Luzon and Bicol region tomorrow due to the effects of severe tropical storm Christine. The Office of the Executive Secretary made the announcement. Meanwhile, suspension of work for private companies and offices is left to the discretion of their respective heads. Three overflow bridges in Etiague, Isabela were submerged in floodwaters due to the continuous heavy downpour brought about by severe tropical storm Christine. The Etiague Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Office, or DRRMO, reported that Nara, Anafunan, and Guca bridges are all flooded. Although the narrow overflow bridge remains passable, Anafunan and Gucab remain impassable. A family of 5 was evacuated due to the threat posed by a creek in Avila Rey. Meanwhile, a huge portion of Naga City and Camarines Sur were submerged in floodwater due to the heavy downpour. Rescue operations in Naga are in full swing, with personnel from the Armed Forces of the Philippines, the Philippine National Police, and the Philippine Coast Guard helping local authorities, in providing assistance to those trapped in their respective homes.
Meanwhile, while excess precipitation and widespread flooding mostly defined Tropical Storm Christine's advent, it manifested its impending presence in Cebu by way of strong gusts which scattered debris from toppled billboards atop buildings and caused extended delays in the piers for ships trying to dock and drop anchor. PTV Cebu's Jessie Atienza tells us more.
Strong gusts of wind hit Metro Cebu every now and then. Mandaue City LGU employees immediately disassembled their tents outside the sports complex. One of the tents by the NBI Cebu District Office was badly hit by a strong wind. In Cebu City, the disaster team has secured the Arlington Pond Street, where debris from an old building have been falling to the ground due to strong winds. To ensure the safety of passers-by and motorists, the road leading to the building has been blocked. Past 11 in the morning, a passenger ship from Ozamis docked at Cebu's Pier 1. According to one of the passengers, their ship reached the waters of Cebu at 6 in the morning, but was unable to dock due to strong winds and big waves.
Na super jud kayo nga abig jud mo kana bitong mayabo na bitong mike ang balod ganaan na jud nangalipong na jud mi din ang bed ng lupad tungod sa kusok sa hangin.
Though trips have been cancelled, stranded passengers patiently wait at the ticketing booths for a chance to get the first batch of tickets to be issued once trips resume.
May ticket na po kayo pero bakit andito pa rin po kayo dito sa ticketing booth?
I just want to make sure kung may biyahe ba mamayang gabi. Kaso wala pa sirado eh. Gusto ko lang siguraduhin para hindi ako mamaya.
At least kung sakasakali, pwede kayong ma-refund.
Pwede ma-refund.
Around 100 stranded passengers were given foams and space to sleep. The DSWD has also provided food for them. As per PDRRMO, they have yet to record major damage in their vicinity. But a 70-year-old man on board a fishing boat was reported as casualty after his boat capsized while sailing in the waters near Pilar in Camotes Island.
Na-capsize na fishing boat na tulo ang naapektahan, although tuwa survivors, ang usa nakita na gyud na-recover ang yang lawas dito sa vicinity water sa Merida Leyte.
The PDRRMO advises the fishermen to never set sail at such times to avoid accidents or life-threatening situations. From PTV Cebu, Jessie Atienza, Balitang Pambansa.
Concerned agencies are now working hand-in-hand to provide the necessary assistance to some 200 passengers stranded at the Batangas port due to Tropical Storm Christine. Philippine Information Agency Calabarzon's Baby De Castro filed this report.
The Philippine Ports Authority in Batangas announced that they have coordinated with the Batangas Provincial Disaster Risk Reduction Management Office to facilitate the evacuation of almost 200 stranded passengers from Batangas Port. Port officials relocated stranded passengers currently staying at the passenger terminal building to other parts of the port to avoid a direct hit from the raging waves near the terminal. In a statement, PPA Batangas Port Manager Joselito Sino Cruz said they will start evacuating passengers while suspension of sea travel remains in place. Some passengers, meanwhile, have returned to their homes, while others who came from distant locations sought temporary shelter from nearby relatives and friends. PPA Batangas, together with the Asian Terminal Incorporated Batangas and some shipping lines, have since prepared hot meals for stranded passengers. Seaports in the region, including the ports of Lucena, Real, and Patnanungan in Quezon, recorded stranded passengers in their facilities, as sea travel remains suspended until storm signals are lifted. From PIA Calabarzon, Baby De Castro, Balitang Pambansa.
On the other hand, evacuation in a town in Marinduque has been implemented as Tropical Storm Christine batters the province. Philippine Information Agency Mimaropa's A. Sapit has the full details.
More than 300 individuals have been evacuated due to the threat of flooding and landslides affecting 20 barangays in the town of Mogpog, Marinduque, caused by Typhoon Christine on Wednesday, October 23. According to Rizali Lim, the Municipal Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Officer of Mogpog, they implemented a forced evacuation in 20 out of 37 barangays starting last night. The evacuees are currently staying in barangay halls and covered courts designated as evacuation centers by the local government. As of 6 a.m. this morning, the flooding in Barangay Laon has reached knee-deep levels, prompting the evacuation of some residents living in stilt houses. Lim stated that if the rain continues to intensify until noon, they will enforce a forced evacuation in the mentioned barangay. In Barangay Tarug, the shoulder of a road has collapsed due to land erosion caused by the continuous rainfall in the area. A fallen tree is also blocking the road, making it impossible for vehicles. Currently, signal number 1 remains in effect in Marinduque due to the threat posed by Typhoon Christine. The Provincial Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Office is on standby to assist local governments in need of help.
From the Philippine Information Agency Mimaropa, A. Sapit, Balitang Pambansa.
The center of severe tropical storm Christine, with an international name of Trame, was located at 130 kilometers east-northeast of Casiguran, Aurora, or 175 kilometers east of Itiague, Isabela, with maximum sustained winds of 95 kilometers per hour near the center, gustiness reaching up to 115 kilometers per hour, and is moving northwestward at 20 kilometers per hour. Stormy weather will be felt in Metro Manila, Cagayan Valley, Ilocos Region, Cordillera Administrative Region, Central Luzon, Calabarzon, and Bicol Region. Rains with gusty winds will fall on Visayas, Mimaropa, Dinagat Islands, and Surigao del Norte. Meanwhile, the trough of Christine will bring cloudy skies with scattered rains and thunderstorms in Zamboanga Peninsula, northern Mindanao, Barm, and Soc-Sargen. The rest of Mindanao will experience partly cloudy to cloudy skies with isolated rain, showers, or thunderstorms.
Up next, the Cordillera RDRRMC enforces preemptive evacuation in landslide and flood-prone areas.
More alleged victims of Pastor Apollo Kibuloy testify in Senate hearing. Stay tuned. Balitang Pambansa will return after a short break.
Good vibes ba kamo? Sagot namin ang umaga ninyo. Mula sa balitaan,
makakakwentuhan natin ngayong umaga,
bagong kaalaman,
hoping for the success,
hanggang sa Unli Chikahan. Kasama ang RSP Morning Barkada. Rise and Shine Pilipinas. Lunes hanggang Biyernes, alas 6 na umaga. Dito lang sa PTV.
Kapag ang produkto ay halal, ibig sabihin ang produkto ay manufactured and prepared in full compliance with the Islamic law. Safe itong i-consume at gamitin ng hindi lang ng mga kapatid nating Muslim, kung hindi nating lahat. Sabay-sabay nating alamin kung paano nga ba nakatulong ang science and technology. Dito lang yan sa Siyensika, Season 5.
Disaster Watch. Alamin ang mga dapat ilagay sa go bag bilang paghahanda sa anumang sakuna. Maglagay ng tubig na maiinom at mga pagkaing hindi madaling masira. Maglaan ng espasyo para sa first aid kit at survival kit para sa mga hindi inaasahang pangyayari. Huwag kalimutan ang toiletries para mapanatili ang kalinisan sa katawan. Samahan din ang mga damit at beddings na magtatagal ng ilang araw. At para ligtas at may alam, magdala ng personal protective equipment at mga teknikal na gamit. Sa panahon ng kalamidad, dapat laging listo. Panoorin. Malinaw at malalimang pagsusuri sa mga isyung pampolitika at polisiya ng pamahalaan. Ipaliliwanag ng respetadong political scientist at akademiko na si Profesor Antonio Contreras. Punto de vista. Mapanuring komentaryo na nagpapainit sa inyong umaga sa Rise and Shine Pilipinas. Dito sa inyong pambansang TV, PTV. Pagkakataon nyo ng maglingkod para sa bayan. Inaanyayahan namin ang lahat ng mga individual na may talento at dedikasyon na mag-apply sa aming mga bukas na posisyon. News Division, Associate Producer, Graphic Artist, Production Coordinator, Writer, PCSO Unit, Cargen Operator, Graphic Artists. Ipadala ang inyong resume sa hireme@ptni.gov.ph.
Malacanang suspended government work and classes at all levels in the entire Luzon tomorrow due to the effects of severe tropical storm Christine. The office of the executive secretary made the announcement. Meanwhile, suspension of work for private companies and offices is left to the discretion of their respective heads. The Department of Social Welfare and Development, or DSWD Field Office 5, has promptly delivered family food packs to 446 displaced families in various evacuation centers in Irosin, Sorsogon. Based on the information gathered by the Philippine News Agency, the DSWD continues its relief operations in the region, providing assistance to internally displaced persons, or IDPs, in evacuation centers, and actively collaborating with local government units, or LGUs, to evaluate the situation and meet the needs of affected residents. More than 2.3 million pesos worth of humanitarian assistance had also been provided. Meanwhile, DSWD Secretary Rex Gatchalian assured enough stockpiles of family food packs in its hub and the last mile warehouses across all regions for augmentation to LGUs. The DSWD chief also revealed the agency is eyeing to preposition ready-to-eat food in regional offices that will be distributed during calamities and other emergencies. Furthermore, the DSWD urged residents residing near Magat and San Roque dams to stay alert and follow instructions of their local chief executives following the announcement of opening of spillway gates of the dam.
Meanwhile, the tropical storm Christine, which just morphed into a typhoon, has dumped tremendous volumes of precipitation in Maguindanao, Zamboanga, Bohol, and most of all in the provinces of Camarines Sur, Sorsogon, and Albay, where half of the 20 landslides in the country have been recorded thus far. Hence, the repeated warning to the Cordillera region LGUs to seek higher and safer grounds, as we hear this report from Philippine Information Agency Cordillera's Reggie Cawis.
The Mines and Geosciences Bureau in the Cordillera is calling on all government units in the region to take the necessary precautions on the possible effects of Tropical Cyclone Christine. Based on the latest Regional Hazard Threat Advisory of MGBCAR, a total of 880 barangays in Cordillera are susceptible to rain-induced landslides and flooding. MGBCAR Chief Geologist Benigno Cesar Espejo said LGU must take seriously the advisories and reminders of government offices, especially with the impending threat of Christine in the Cordillera.
Huwag tayong maging kampante, dapat yun pa rin, kumbaga sumunod pa rin tayo sa protocol kahit wala, kumbaga parting pa lang bagyo, wala pang nangyari, is maganda na rin.
Espejo said that during the onslaught of weather disturbances, some areas in the region are often identified as critical areas. He warned of possible landslides and flooding, especially along Abra River and Abulug River in Apayao.
Sumunod tayo. End of the day, lahat ng effort ng mga responders natin, mga MDRIMS natin, yung OCD natin, DSWD, DILG, is para sa kanila naman yon.
The Cordillera Regional Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council has already directed the concerned DRRMCs to enforce preemptive evacuation, particularly in areas prone to landslides and flooding.
All concerned DRRMCs were also advised
to ensure that evacuation centers were safe and secured from landslide, flooding, and structural damages. From the PIA Cordillera, Reggie Cawis for Balitang Pambansa.
Meanwhile, the Department of Trade and Industry, or DTI, has implemented a price freeze on essential goods in Albay Province and Magpet in Cotabato following severe flooding and landslides. According to the report of Philippine News Agency, price freeze lasts for 60 days and covers items like canned fish, instant noodles, bottled water, and more. The Department of Agriculture, or DA, monitors prices for staples like rice and meat, while the Department of Health, or the DOH, oversees essential medications. Secretary Cristina Roque emphasized DTI's commitment to consumer protection, adding that they are ready to address any violations.
Kingdom of Jesus Christ, or KOJC leader Pastor Apollo Kibuloy attended the Senate hearing today and faced some of his alleged sexual abuse victims. Aside from these infractions, the hearing also tackled how the KOJC founder was allegedly able to coerce his victims, which was supposedly through the angels of death, Kibuloy's alleged private army, where some supposedly even have military backgrounds. Kibuloy answered all the questions asked and denied all the allegations hurled against him, and even issued a challenge to his accusers. Meanwhile, a supposed witness claimed to have knowledge of a kill order against former members who allegedly came from Kibuloy himself.
Yung mga pagpatay nung 2nd Metro Davao Signal Battalion o yung security department, si Kibuloy ba ang nag-order ng pagpatay sa mga dating KOJC members?
Opo, kasi yung kay Simon po kasi, nasabi nila sa amin yan. Pero sabi niya na kasi may galit daw kasi si pastor doon sa yung Jaro, kasi yung lupa niya doon ayaw ibenta.
Si Kibuloy ba talaga ang nag-uutos na pumatay? Baka mga tao lang niya, di niya alam?
Kung ako, hindi naman namin gagawin yun kung hindi inuutos mula sa taas. Sino ba kami? Magagalit lang kami sa isang worker, sa isang tao na against sa ministry, na lumabas, galit lang. Pero pag inutos niya na gawin namin yan, gagawin po talaga namin yun.
On the other news, the financial and economic policies of the Marcos administration is fundamentally sound and works. Since he assumed power, the president and his team of technocrats and economic managers have kept GDP growth at a 6% average, tamed inflation, and brought unemployment to a respectable 4%. The full report from IBC's Quinzel Bacobo.
For over 2 years, under the presidency of Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr., the government now reports a good leap of the country's economic status. According to the Department of Finance, the Philippines is now second among top-performing countries in the ASEAN region in terms of economic growth.
The Philippines is among the leading economies in the ASEAN region, growing at 6.1% as of the 2nd quarter of this year.
The agency reported this good economic outcome in a recent economic forum. In support to this report, Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, or BSP, says the inflation rate in the country now dropped to just 3%, well within the target of the government's economic managers. Unemployment rate, meanwhile, declined to 4%, while underemployment is now at 11.2%. Most of all, the country's international reserve has increased to $112 billion.
All of these inflows, of course, translate to an opportunity to build up our gross international reserves. And so the latest figure that we have is as of end of September. And you see that currently we have $112 billion in our foreign reserves. And that's an increase from the end of last year of only $104 billion.
Authorities say these are all the result of the Marcos Jr. administration's effort under the Philippine Development Plan 2023 to 2028. This includes allocation of 9.6 trillion peso fund for several infrastructure projects focused on transportation, water services, digital connectivity, health, and education, among others. With these positive indications, the government sees the possibility of the Philippines rising from our current lower middle income status to upper middle income status by 2025. From IBC 13, Quenzel Bocobo for Balitang Pambansa.
And that concludes our rundown of the latest, widest, and most comprehensive news and information from all across the nation. From Radyo Pilipinas, I'm Joe Fernandez.
This is your trusted news source, always ready to inform and serve the Filipino people. Catch Balitang Pambansa again tomorrow at 7 a.m., 12 noon, 6 p.m., and 9:30 p.m. for more updates and developments. From Radyo Pilipinas, I'm Princess Habiba Saripaudak, and this is
Balitang Pambansa.